Hi all. Today we'll be learning the evolution of economic thought through two influential thinkers, Adam Smith and Alfred Marshall. Okay. So the title, you can see the ledger and the lens, right? So these represent two different ways of viewing economics. The ledger symbolizes the traditional focus on wealth, resources, production, and transactions. The lens symbolizes a broader perspective that examines how economic activity affects people, society, and human welfare. So, for centuries, economists debated a fundamental question like, is economics primarily about generating wealth or is it about improving human well being, etc.? Okay. So Adam Smith emphasized the mechanism that create wealth and prosperity, while Alfred Marshall later expanded this view by arguing that economics should also study people and their welfare. So here we will be examining how these two perspectives shaped modern economics and why both remain essential today. Okay, so let's start with the modern baseline. Before examining the historical debate, let's understand the conventional definition of economics. Economics begin with the assumption that human wants are unlimited, obviously, right? While resources are limited. Because resources are scarce, individuals and societies must make choices regarding their allocation, right? So we have unlimited or infinite human wants and the scarce resources, right? That is why we need a rational management and thereby we can attain economic welfare maximization. Okay. So these choices occur through three fundamental economic activities that are production, distribution, and consumption. Okay. So production creates goods and services, right? Services reach people. Okay. While consumption involves the use of those goods and services to satisfy the needs and wants of human beings. And the traditional objective of these activities is that welfare maximization through efficient resource allocation. Okay. So this framework forms the foundation of modern economic theory and serves as the starting point of understanding the contributions of both Adam Smith and Marshall. Okay. So economics is a social science. It studies the friction between infinite desires and limited resources and the management system requires to maximize the social welfare. Now let's see the two rival paradigms. Throughout history, economics have approached the study of economics from two major perspectives. The first paradigm is represented by Adam Smith. Okay. This view sees economics primarily as the study of wealth creation. Okay. It focuses on production, trade, investment, and the mechanisms that increase a nation's prosperity. And the second one focuses on social scientist. Okay, that is proposed by or represented by Alfred Marshall. Marshall believed that economics should focus on people rather than simply wealth. He argued that wealth is important only because it contributes to human welfare. So you just imagine that you have a lot of money in your bank account, but you are not happy or you are not able to use it for your welfare. Will it make any sense? No, right? Just like that. So these two paradigms are not necessarily opposites, rather, they highlight different priorities within the same discipline. Okay, so first paradigm was by Adam Smith and he was focusing on wealth generation. Second one was from Alfred Marshall, focus on the people, right? Based on the social or human welfare. Clear? Now let's see Adam Smith and the pursuit of wealth. Adam Smith often called the father of economics, right? He defined economics as an inquiry into the factors that determine the wealth of a nation and its growth. Okay. In Smith's work, wealth generation became the central concern. Okay. So he mainly focused on wealth generation. So here you can see the diagram, right? The diagram illustrates that can be called the wealth loop. This is a wealth loop. Okay. So individuals engage in wealth generating activities. So individuals engage in wealth generating activities such as production, trade, and entrepreneurship. Okay. The wealth generated is then used through consumption and investment. Okay. These activities in turn stimulate the further wealth creation. Okay. So wealth using activities. So Smith's focus was on understanding how nations become prosperous and how economic system encourage productivity and growth. So it is important to note that when Smith referred to wealth, he meant goods and services that satisfy human wants, not merely money. Okay. His objective was to discover the mechanisms that increase national prosperity and improve economic efficiency. Okay. Is it clear with you? Okay. So, what was his core objective? The ultimate goal of the discipline is studying ways by which wealth of all nations could be increased. Okay. Now let's see the cracks in the wealth paradigm. What were the issues? Although Smith's framework greatly advanced economic understanding, it also revealed several limitations. Okay. First, it often ignored higher human values. Okay. So it ignored human values. Clear. Wealth alone cannot fully account for happiness, dignity, social justice, or quality of life, right? So we need all these along with the wealth. Secondly, it provided a narrow definition of prosperity by measuring success primarily through the accumulation of wealth. So that was a narrow concept, right? So we cannot measure prosperity through accumulation of wealth only. Okay. Thirdly, it tended to sideline humanity itself, reducing individual to producers and consumers within an economic system. So, he compromised humanity. And finally, the wealth centered approach struggled to address the broader problem of scarcity because it focused mainly on generating wealth rather than evaluating how wealth contributes to human well being. So, he turned a blind eye towards scarcity. So these limitations encouraged economists to seek a broader framework that incorporated social and human dimensions. Clear? Now let's see what did Alfred Marshall explain. Okay. So Alfred Marshall introduced a significant shift in economic thinking. Marshall described economics as the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. Okay. Economics is a study of man in the ordinary business of life. Okay. He believed economics should investigate both how people earn income and how they use it. So the balance scale shown here represent the Marshall's central idea. So he advised that study of wealth should balance with the study of man. Okay. Economics is simultaneously a study of wealth and a study of human beings. However, Marshall argued that the study of people is ultimately more important because wealth exists to serve human needs. Okay, so why we need wealth? To serve human needs, right? That is what Marshall said. Clear? So that is why it is slightly uh, turning towards the study of man. Okay. So his approach examined how economic activities influence living standards, welfare, and social well-being. So this marked a major transition from being economics solely as a science of wealth to seeing it as a science concerned with the human welfare. Clear? So it is on the one side a study of wealth and on the other side more important side that is a part of the study of the man. Okay, that was the most important part of this study by Marshall. So Marshall's welfare approach can be visualized through the concept of a lens. Okay, unlike Smith ledger, which records transactions and wealth, the lens focuses on human outcomes. Okay, so it primarily focuses become mankind and human behavior. So it focused mainly on mankind. Okay, but only as a mean of improving people's life. And also Marshall concentrated on what he called as ordinary business life. So he explained what do you mean by ordinary business life. Okay. And also he give a clear definition about material welfare and all. Okay. So he mentioned that earning income, spending money, and meeting everyday need as ordinary businesses. Okay. So the lens also recognizes that individuals require more than material goods to flourish, right? We need more than material wealth. Social relationships, health, education, and overall well-being contribute significantly to welfare, right? However, this approach introduces a challenge by focusing mainly on material welfare. Some important aspect of life may still remain outside the scope of economic analysis. That was the issue related to this study. Okay. Now let's see the limitations of this welfare paradigm. Okay. So although Marshall's welfare approach broadened economics significantly, it also faced the criticism. Why? One limitation is the difficulty of classifying economic and non-economic activities. So real life is complex, right? And many actions have both economic and social dimensions. Another challenge involved vague concept. Welfare can be difficult to define and measure precisely, right? So first thing, impractical classification, then vague concept, right? Then another challenge was vague concept. Okay. And the approach may also have a restricted scope. The next thing was restricted scope because it focuses primarily on material welfare rather than the broader aspects of human development. Additionally, the methodology. There was a lot of methodological flaws. The methodological problems arise when economics is treated solely as a social science concerned with the welfare, potentially neglecting the important issues of resource allocation and efficiency. Okay. So it also had a materialistic bias. So these limitations suggest that neither the wealth paradigm nor the welfare paradigm is entirely sufficient on its own. So both concepts has its own flaws. Now let's see the paradigm shift matrix. Okay. So here you can see the major differences between the two approaches. So it will be very easy for you for the revisions and all. Okay. So both are listed here. So under the wealth perspective, the primary focus is wealth generation and wealth utilization, right? Wealth is defined as goods and services that satisfy human wants. Okay. And then humanity occupies a secondary position because the people are viewed mainly as participants in the wealth creation process. So the objective is increasing national wealth, while major blind spot is the tendency to overlook broader human values. Under the welfare perspective, the focus is shift to people and their ordinary economic activities. Wealth is seen as one of the prerequisites for welfare rather than the ultimate goal. The objective becomes maximizing social and material well-being. However, the wealth approach faces challenges related to classification, measurement, and scope. So this comparison highlights the strength and the weaknesses of both frameworks. So you can easily compare them. Okay. So modern economics does not force us to choose between wealth and welfare, right? Instead, it combines the strength of both perspectives. The first circle represents Adam Smith's contribution. Okay. And the second one shows the Marshall's contribution. So in Adam Smith, you can see how they are managing scarcity, organizing production, and generating wealth. And in Marshall's, you can see how to understand human wants, welfare, and social well-being. So this area, the overlap between these circles represent the contemporary economics. Today, economists reorganize that wealth is necessary because it provides resources and opportunities. However, wealth is valuable only when it contributes to human welfare. Therefore, the ultimate goal of economics is not merely to create wealth nor merely to discuss welfare, but to use efficient resource management to improve the quality of human life. So basically, Adam Smith taught us how nations create wealth, while Alfred Marshall reminded us why wealth matters. Modern economics integrate both insights. So it studies how scarce resources can be managed efficiently while ensuring that economic activity ultimately serves human welfare. The ledger provides the mechanism and the lens provides the purpose. I hope it is clear for you. Thanks for watching.